You know it's all about DTFC. You know it's all about DTFC.
Welcome back to another episode of Dallas Trinity Up the River, the official podcast for Dallas Trinity FC. I am joined by Trip Neal today. Hi, Trip. How are you?
Good, great. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. We have a very exciting matchup coming up. Can you tell us how this all came to fruition here?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was kind of destiny. Like it was destined to happen, right? Two pro women's soccer teams here in the state of Texas. At some point, they've got to collide. They got to figure out, who's on top here. So yeah, I mean, I have a relationship with the GM at Houston, but the truth of the matter is, Chris was the one who set it all up and arranged it, and he's got a really good relationship with a lot of the GMs around that league, and I think this will be our fourth matchup now versus an NWSL club. So looking to continue to build off the previous three.
Now, for any of the fans that are joining us in this episode, we are talking about the I-45 Showdown presented by Texas Women's University. We are so excited for this. Houston Dash is coming all the way up here to Dallas, to the Cotton Bowl for this game on February 28th. Trip, let's look at this rivalry, the Texas rivalry, Houston, Dallas. Can you think of any just like major rivalries between these two cities? Because there's so many different, rivalries here in Texas. And I think the Houston-Dallas one, it's always just a big talked about rivalry.
Of course. I mean, the knee-jerk reaction is to go to the Rangers and Astros. I think it's just such a passionate one between both those fan bases. And obviously, the Rangers winning the more recent World Series, that was Adolis Garcia hitting the big El Bombi, right, hitting the home runs. I mean, those were some epic flexes on Houston. But it goes all the way down into the business world. We're debating about which city has better business opportunities. It goes into the weather. Which cities got better weather? Which cities got better food? So now we get to find out which city's got better soccer. So we'll see how that plays out on February 28th.
I love it. Any details that you want to share to the fans about this big matchup coming up? What can the fans expect when they walk inside the Cotton Bowl that day?
It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be family. And if you think about family, there's some positives and some tension moments too. So I think we're all in the greatest state in the world, the great state of Texas. So we're family by nature there. But you always want to win that matchup with your sibling here in the state. And so I think it'll be a very lively crowd. I think that there's a lot of fans from Houston that are coming up as well. So we need our Dallas community to show up, show out, get loud, get proud. We're excited to see what happens.
Well, coming up on this episode from the Houston Dash, Angela Hucles Mangano will be joining us right after this break. Joining us now from Houston Dash, Angela Hucles Mangano. Angela, how are you doing?
I am fantastic, Savannah. Thank you for asking. How are you doing?
We are great. We're so excited to talk to you. Obviously, we have a major matchup at the end of this month. Houston Dash coming in to play Dallas Trinity FC. What are your first initial thoughts on this matchup and how excited are you?
I'm thrilled, to be honest, because we now have this fantastic rivalry, in-state rivalry, and also just the respect that I have of your organization and the team and the club itself. I think it's a fantastic way to really showcase the talent that we have here in the state of Texas. So yeah, we are jazzed. We're pumped, excited that we're actually able to now do this.
When it comes to the rivalry, Houston and Dallas, there's obviously been this back and forth in this state for such a long period of time. I mean, what do you feel about coming up to Dallas? Are the Houston Dash fans, are they traveling big for this one?
You might be surprised. We I don't know if we're gonna fill up the bowl itself. I'll be quite honest, but we expect to have a good show up, a good turnout for crowd for this. Bringing some folks from Houston, bringing some of the Dash community as well to again give our club some support, but again to really enhance not just the experience. For the fan, but the players themselves, and I think that's the whole part of it, right? This is a fun matchup, rivalry, and to be able to take advantage of the proximity that we do have enables us to really invite some of the crowd into the stands.
We're excited, Angela. We really are. And if there's any good news out of this, I will tell you the two NWSL teams that we played last summer were Gotham and Washington, and so. There's something magical about playing Dallas. We seem to get those teams ready for championship quality soccer. So, but taking a step back on your journey, because you have one of the most incredible journeys, one of the most incredible stories. It's inspirational on so many levels. Take us back. Just give us your story and your how your love of soccer came about and the places you've gotten to go along the way.
Kind words coming from you and the success that you've had in your career as well. And maybe I'll thank you both in advance for the matchup and what the future may hold for the Dash this season. I think for myself and my story, it could be very similar and could be very unique all in one, as many other people. And ultimately started my soccer journey at a young age at 7 years old. And really, I'd say by default, a little bit in terms of being involved in that sport specifically, and was really a way for me to stay involved and be active. My parents, as a young child were like, you need to get your energy out. And I competed in the neighborhood swim team when I was 6 years old. And I actually just made this recent discovery, which I haven't really ever shared before, but my story used to say that, I didn't really like swimming, but what it did do was it made me love competition. And so what I didn't like about swimming was the inordinate amount of time you needed to spend at a swim meet on a Saturday morning for just a little bit. I did one relay and it was, a good 25, 30 seconds. But I think I found my love for competition and for sport from swimming. So the next season, I actually tried soccer, tried out for the neighborhood soccer team or was placed on a team. And I fell in love. I fell in love with, the orange slices at halftime, running freely around the field. But I really fell in love with the game and the sport of soccer. And really, I think also fortunate to say that, I started at 7 years old and continuously played the wonderful game that we know until I retired. And I think I felt very fortunate and privileged to really have the ability to say that, not just from being a youth, but all the way throughout being able to play professionally and still hold that love and joy.
Angela, out of all of the things that you have done in your playing career, what would you say is your most proud moment for you?
I always go to, I think, 2008 in the Olympics. I competed in 2 Olympics and 2 World Cups and medaled in each. World Cups came away with bronze medals and Olympics came away with 2 gold medals. And so I think each of those major international events told a different story about where I was in my journey. I had been a consistent member of the U.S. women's national team, not a consistent starter, but a consistent contributor for the team. And I think, every single tournament, there was another evolution. There were coach changes, there were obviously roster changes, but I think being able to get to that moment in 2008, which wound up being, a year before I actually retired from professional sport, for me, it was very, I think, symbolic of my journey and symbolic of so many lessons that I draw from my playing experience in terms of persistence, consistency, being able to collaborate and really understand how to get the best out of myself, and also how to work with others so that we are all getting the best from each other too. And so being able to walk away from that tournament, and also being in a role that I wasn't necessarily training to be in with the Olympic team, due to injury and some last minute shifts. Being able to be successful with my teammates and coaches and staff at the highest level on the world stage to contribute in the way that I was able to. For me, I think that's what I really take away as that moment in time.
It's awesome to hear you talk about the teamwork that went into that and the prep that goes into that. I can certainly appreciate that from the playing side as well. I'm curious, so Angela, and I don't know this answer. I'm really curious. What was the moment, your kind of breakthrough moment to get involved in that team and really noticed at the national team level?
Definitely when I became a professional footballer. I was right at the period of time when I graduated from college. I went to the University of Virginia as a student athlete, and I graduated in the year 2000. And it was right during that time where, before graduation, I started hearing about this possibility of the first ever women's professional soccer league in the United States being born. And so there was an opportunity to go to a combine, to then be drafted and launch my pro career. And that happened in 2001. And so to be able to have the opportunity to compete with and against the best in the world. We had international stars. We had my teammates on the national team, Christine Lilly, Kate Sabrera-Markgraf, players that I had started to see and aspire to be teammates with on the national team. I was involved in the youth national team through college and to that point, but it was really, that was, I think, the pivotal moment, because I was in an environment where I could be evaluated against the best and with the best. And so that really was the time in which I started being consistently called into national team camp, and then also making rosters too with the team. So I really do credit the development of the professional league and the development that provided myself and so many others as well. I think there are a handful of people who have competed and played on the national team, have been very successful. Shannon Box is someone who comes to mind in terms of who benefited from having a professional women's soccer league, domestic league in our country.
Angela, how do you feel that women's soccer has grown from that time? You're talking about 2001, really kicking off your career. Where has the women's game really grown in the past few years, in your opinion?
It feels like light years, to be honest. I think, especially now working in a league and in the professional club environment, to see the things that I'm viewing on a day-to-day and year over year. I would say even when I first joined, and more of the front office side and sporting side of the NWSL, it has already shifted drastically since 2020, 21 until 26. So even looking at a maybe 5-year period, there have been incremental changes, and also very, very big ones. So you see that in media and media rights, for a league itself. You see that in individual player deals. You see that in transfer fees, expansion of the league itself and the teams and the growth. And so we are seeing more and more investment. You look at the fees to actually purchase an NWSL team. An NWSL team right now is grown tremendously, even in a short period of time. So all of these things, to me, are instrumental in how we grow, how we develop, how we professionalize and elevate that professionalism within our league. And that's just, within a 5-year period. So even from the time that I started, we're light years away. I think there have been so many fantastic changes, and still I think nostalgically back at the time where, if anything, in terms of like a metaphor, it's, how people might feel, college sports compared to professional sports. But I do think that there are so many things just in terms of the standards of how we've professionalized women's sports in our country, and specifically in women's soccer, that have been great for the game and great for the athletes as well.
I could so appreciate that, Angela, and the investment in women's sports and obviously women's soccer, which is home to us. It's gone from being kind of a feel good thing to do, the right thing to do, to also being the smart thing to do, which is just been a huge catalyst in the growth that we've seen today in Texas, all across, from the youth all the way up to the professional level. The standards are getting higher and higher, and the stakes are getting higher too. So it's a fun time to be involved for sure. Talk to me a little bit about. Obviously, I can imagine as a player, your why when you get up, you wanted to go chase your gold medal dreams, which so many young kids aspire to do. But now at this stage, what's your why? What gets you up in the morning?
That's a great question. I think it's important to ask, Trip, because you both know that this industry and the way that things are moving and shifting in women's football in our country is so quick, that there's a lot of work that goes on to it. It is not all glamour, glitz and glamour when you're working in professional sports. So it's a lot of hard work, and I think we've been able to see more investment, to see your team come into fruition in the USL as well, and to see that expansion of talent. That means it opens up more opportunity. It opens up more opportunity for players and for also people who are working in the sport. And I think for me, I want to constantly strive, and part of my why is not just to make the game better and make it better than when I first found it, because I do think it already has, and I've played a very minuscule part in that. But it's also to create more pathways. It's create more pathways for people to get involved in women's football. And I think if I'm being very, very transparent and looking at my career trajectory after being a professional athlete, it really wasn't until I started working in the NWSL that I actually thought about being a career path, working in the front office, working for a club, a professional club. There was no one who looked like me. There were rarely any former athletes, professional athletes and players who held the role of a CSO or a GM or a president of soccer operations. So that realization really didn't come to me until I was really in the role itself. And I think for me, there are so many more opportunities now that have ever been before. And so to be able to help educate, help show, help develop environments to then create more pathways for others is a huge part of my why. And I think because we are in a different place now for professional sports, for women specifically, we have a really unique opportunity to make this a better experience than it ever has been for professional athletes. And we can also talk about equality, pay equity, and what does that look like for female athletes. And I will also go on to say, not just for female athletes, but for those who are working in women's pro sports as well. So I think all of those things give me a lot of reasons and a lot of whys. And then ultimately, I'm a mom. I think for me to be able to help show an example to my kids, as cheesy and corny as it may sound, I'm in the midst of a 5.5 and an 8.5-year-old, and they are very much involved in my sporting life, and also go to games and are able to be exposed to something. And it wasn't until recently that my 8-year-old son was watching, I think it was an English Premier League game, and this is probably like a year or two ago now. But looked up at the screen. He's like, "Mommy, are those men playing soccer? Like, what, those are men?" And so, for him
Cool.
to,
That's cool.
even just look at the television and have it click, like, "Oh, men can play soccer too." Although he was playing soccer at the time, but he's been so exposed to the beauty and the power of female athletes that that actually resonated to me in a much different way. So I have a lot of reasons to continue to show up and do the great work that we all are doing.
That resonates with me too. I make a point when we talk about Dallas Trinity FC and what we're about and what we're doing around the community, that it's not just a pathway or an inspiration for young girls in soccer, but also for boys who need female role models and leaders in the community. And so I so resonate with what you just shared. It's working. I love seeing that and hearing that story.
Absolutely.
Angela, we touched on it briefly here, and you just kind of answered a little bit of this. But for all of our fans who are wanting to get to know you a little bit better, can you discuss exactly what your role is with Houston Dash? What does a day-to-day look like for you being involved in this team?
Yeah, sure. So currently, I am the president of soccer operations for the Houston Dash and chief soccer officer. And that just means I am responsible for overseeing all of the sporting operations for the club. And that includes the coaching staff to the medical performance, operations, recruitment and analysis, the whole gamut of our sporting operations group and team. I do a lot of management in my job in terms of, we just hired 10 new positions, which is massive, and a huge support and investment from our owner Ted Siegel to elevate our environment and to give us even more resources. And one of the things I do love about my job is every day can look a little different, but a lot of it in terms of my role, it can also look different club to club. Because of where that club may be in terms of their history and what they need to really achieve. And so for me, coming into this organization, which has been a little over a year now, this is my second full season with the Houston Dash. A lot of it was looking at making sure that we had strong leadership and making sure that my staff have the support that they need so that they can be the support that our players need. And so whether it's facilities and overseeing some of the facility management with my group and making sure that the players have what they need, the staff have what they need to managing our salary cap, all of these things, we have great staff who are in place to really help to execute the day-to-day on all of those things. And what I do is really help to look strategically and 3-5 years out so that we're making the best decisions for the club, for the players and the staff, on the day to day. It is a team sport and teamwork. But that's part of, actually, I'd love to say I did a lot of things well. And I think for me as a player, I was a utility player. I played forward in college. I was a midfielder, and my pro career got switched as a forward at that 2008 Olympics. But that actually, I internalized that as a weakness for so long. And it wasn't until, later in life, I understood that that's a superpower, right? And to be able to dip in and out of different spaces. For me, that's energizing, that's fun. But I think that was also a little bit of a click where I could relate how I was as a player, even into, how I can best serve different environments, and especially the one that I'm in now.
Oh, it's adaptability, and you're a jack of all trades, Angela. It's amazing to see that, and I'm sure so many women look up to you. I'm actually curious, do your kids, do they go out to all the games with you?
They do. They actually do most of them. Sometimes the late ones we try, but already trying to figure out if we can make sure that they're at our matchup coming up on the 28th against Dallas Trinity. And we have friends in Dallas as well. They came to our first game when we were here last year. So it's time to reciprocate a little bit.
One thing that I'm reminded of as you were talking about the future here, in the near future, Dallas and Houston are big host cities for the FIFA World Cup. I'm just curious what it's like down in Houston getting ready for that big event and how involved you guys are with that.
Definitely very involved in terms of as an organization, both the Dash and the Dynamo, I'd say, just a full organization, obviously being one of the host cities. And, it's exciting, I think, to be able to not just have the World Cup in our country and a shared World Cup, obviously, but to be a host city. I think as you all are experiencing excitement around going into the airports and seeing the countdown signs, readying the facilities and the stadiums. I think to bring that type of attention, the world stage into our own cities, I think is it's a privilege and it's a pressure, but it's going to be incredible. You see the best of the best when you see a World Cup, and I think that's what I'm most excited for is the actual competition of it. And to root on our men. So excited.
Well, World Cup will be coming up here very quickly, but what is coming up even quicker is the I-45 Texas Showdown here at the Cotton Bowl. We're so excited to have your guys' team up here. What are your expectations for this matchup for your team? And I know Tripp will probably chime in with his expectations for Dallas Trinity as well.
What's exciting is that this feels like more of a true partnership really brewing. I know we're setting this up as a rivalry, but we've been able to compete with you all closed door in the past, and I think being able to see you all play in person in the past a few years ago as well, and be there to really experience the incredible stadium itself. I think that's exciting to be able to offer that type of environment for two female professional soccer teams. I think is tremendous. So I think all of those things are exciting. It is going to be great because it's a preseason match for us, and so people are going to be in prove it mode, which also brings out more of a competitive vibe. So that I am more than certain will be displayed, and being able to have this showdown and this rivalry, already will bring more of that energy out of, I think, both teams. So definitely look for that. I'm hoping I'll get some trash talking in with Tripp a little bit too before the matchup. So
obviously mid-season for us, but that's a date they've definitely circled on their calendar. The way I kind of look at it, I think it's yes, the rivalry, the Houston-Dallas stuff is fun and entertaining, and sure, we'll see some of that on the field as well. But this is a celebration of the best of Texas, the best that Texas women's sports has to offer, an opportunity for two Texas women's professional teams to compete against each other and really show the world what we're all about. I think it's also a testament to the quality of youth in our state, because a lot of our players from both the Dash and from Dallas Trinity are born and raised here and developed here, or spend at least a significant portion of their career in some of the best soccer markets in the world, and coached by some of the best coaches in the world. So it's a showcase. It's an opportunity to really put the spotlight where the spotlight is earned.
Yeah, I love that, Tripp.
Angela, well, thank you so much for your time today. We are looking forward to having you and the Houston Dash up here at the Cotton Bowl for the I-45 Texas Showdown. And for any fans listening, you can go to DallasTrinityFC.com to look up tickets. That matchup will be on February 28th at 6 p.m. Angela, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you both. Appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you all soon.
it's all about D.